Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. I appreciate you doing that. I had to actually ask Jasper this time, but that's cool that you did it. And of course, you'll probably expect me to do it for you now all the time too, I guess. Man, that was some good stuff, y'all. Whew, man, I don't even know if I can preach right now. Tell you one thing, he's definitely drawing us. That's for sure. He is definitely drawing us. What I'm going to attempt to talk to you about tonight is the journey is the big picture. And what I'm going to do that's a little easier, because I'm going to be kind of skipping around some verses. I know y'all know I never do that, so I'm probably going to read them back here as they put them up. But the first one, I want you to go ahead and stand with me and turn to 2 Corinthians 10:5. And if they can grace the screen with that, that would be awesome. Not the actual verse, but the real verse. I need to. There we go. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. Now, the big thing there, of course, is you can be seated. I'm sorry. The big thing there is take captive every thought. Now, point one, I'm just going to kind of give you food for thought, no pun intended. But it says you can only concentrate on one thing at a time. Therefore, if you have a negative thought, you can't have a positive thought at the same time. So that's just a little food for thought there as we keep continuing here. And, you know, I talked to y'all a while back about my HR director having a conversation with me that my attitude had to change, and I shared that with y'all, but wow. But this is also from our HR department. I'm going to tell you one thing I've noticed about our HR department. They give me a lot of messages. It's awesome, actually. I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm bored out of my mind, but man, this is a preach, you know. Well, I'm in the 4-hour meetings or whatever. But what I want to talk to you about tonight is I want you to think about painting a picture. Are there anybody, I ain't talking about painting your house, but are there any artists that we have in the room? Does anybody paint anything? Oh, cool. Cool. Did not know that. Did you see the hands? Can we do it again? No, I'm kidding. But what I want to read with you first is I want to read to you one of the pictures that I see God painted, and that was the creation. So I want to read with you Genesis 1 a little bit. So we can put that up there. Or it may be quicker just for me to turn there, actually. Yeah, I'm telling you. Yeah. I'm actually going to read a lot to memorize it. It says, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness He called night. And I'm not going to read all of it to you here, but I mean, just think about this. Think about an empty canvas. Because that's what's going on right here. It's an empty canvas before you paint. And He's painting His picture. And this is when I want to make reference to the other picture. As y'all remember also, we doctored it up a little bit. Yeah, that one. But this is the same thing. You know what Peg shared with you. But this is the same thing. This is a picture. And this is God painting that picture. You know, there's man. I mean, He created man. He created him in His image. I mean, all that is just that empty canvas. And He just put all of it on that canvas to paint that picture. In point 1A, I'm going to talk to you a little bit how He painted this picture. First of all, you should take control of what you picture, choosing to think about what you want to create. B, you control what you picture and need to picture only what you want to see happen. So I'm going to go back and read A and then B again. A is you should take control of what you picture, choosing to think about what you want to create. B is you control what you picture and need to picture only what you want to see happen. And here comes C. Maintain focused on the outcome you want to achieve in a positive manner. You know what? That's what I see God doing in this creation picture here. He took control. He knew exactly what he wanted to create, and he created it. He knew exactly what he wanted to see happen. He knew what he wanted the animals to do, what he wanted us to do, how he wanted our bodies to function, breathing in and out, the different functions that we do. I mean, I've heard Randy talk a lot about how he talks about looking outside and seeing the creation. And that's all pretty. I mean, it really is. I mean, you know, you see the flowers and the trees and everything, but when I think about seeing this creation be created, I mean, just think about it. It's not where you walk outside your door and you see it, but it was actually happening right there, one right after the other. So instead of looking outside and saying, okay, well, I see the sun there and the flower there, no, it was more like the sun and there was no flower. You see what I'm saying? And it was just all pieces, just one right after the other, just like you're painting a picture. Point 2. What you say is not as important, but what you cause yourself or others to picture is crucial. For instance, a child says, I'm a bad boy. But then the child could also say, I'm capable of great things. There's two different contrasts there, but it's a totally different self-esteem that child has if he's picturing him being capable of great things versus if he thinks he's a bad boy and not worth anything. And you know that when that child's going through that others around him know it. You can look at a kid a lot of the time, even an adult, and know exactly that they're having a bad day. It's not rocket science. And I'm not talking about because they're throwing stuff and pitching a fit. I'm talking about just the sad look on their face, or just some form of disappointment or even anger. They don't even have to say a word, but they're creating that picture. 2A, discouraging thoughts can happen during stressful moments. Don't let them hold you captive. Amen. Now I'm going to talk to you about another picture I saw Christ create. The crucifixion. And that's Matthew 27:32 through 56. And you all know the story, but pretty much, he was carrying the cross, and you've seen Bart do it over and over again in the play. And he fell down, and the other guy was made to pick it up and walk it up the hill. But the point is, God knew about all this whenever he was creating creation. And he said, I got this one picture right here that I'm working on, but man, I got another one over here to come. And you know what? During that time, I can assure you that discouraging thoughts came upon Jesus. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to do it for us, but he didn't want to do that because of what he had to go through. But God, he had already painted that picture. And he knew what was going to happen. He knew we were going to get to the very end of the play. And he was going to shake that tomb, and he was going to come out. And he was going to grab those keys. Amen. That's awesome, y'all. That is awesome. And I know y'all have heard this before, but I think it just takes on a whole new light when you actually look at it as a picture being painted. It just seems to me that it's a totally different person between God and the devil. And what I mean by that is, like, we've got this word right here of all these pictures that God has painted for us. The devil, he just kind of paints a temporary picture, you know. He kind of paints a picture for a moment. We don't see any grand scheme pictures that the devil creates. But we do see them with God. We're able to read about them. But you know what? Point 3. Looking from a distance is key. Because that's how you see the big picture. Remember I was telling you, here God is over in creation. And He's already looking to the cross. He's already seeing the big picture. But you know, it's not what's directly in front of you. It's what lies ahead. I mean, He needed to focus on creation. Don't get me wrong. He had to do that. That had to be done. But He was also looking toward other things. Because He knew that it wasn't necessarily what was directly in front of Him. As well. Like, what if God would have sat there and He said, all right, I'm going to throw that sun up there and that moon and water. And He just sat back. Yeah, I got on the 7th day rest. But what if He just sat back for 100 years and just gloried in what He had done? I mean, how much different would it have been? How much would not have got accomplished before? Because here He is in this moment of pride, and he's so happy about it that he can't take his eyes off what He created. That'd be a totally different God that we serve, you know. That's that guy. That's what he does. He sees that and he gloats about things. But you know, He was able to look from a distance and see, and He knew that what was directly in front of Him, it wasn't what mattered. It was what was going to lie ahead of Him. But He had to step back and evaluate it. He had to study the canvas. You know, a lot of times an artist, they don't know exactly what they're going to paint. I'll use another artist. A songwriter. A songwriter don't know what picture he's going to paint for you half the time. He may start out with chords. He may start out with a couple words. But when that picture's done, you understand everything about that song. You understand what message they were trying to portray. Psalm 34:8. Does anybody want to read it? No, I'm kidding. Okay, here we go. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in Him. So when you step back and you evaluate it, you see that the Lord is good. You see what He's trying to create there in your life. You see the picture that He's trying to paint, because that's what I'm talking about. You may be focused on something else, but I'm talking about the picture that He's painting in all our lives. That's the picture I'm talking about. The picture that you're creating. The picture that you're able to paint by where you move, where God tells you to move. You're in that part of the picture. It's not just about creation and the cross. You're in there. He painted your picture. But you know, one thing that you can always do, or you need to do if you're a painter, and even as songwriters, you gotta keep going till you find the positive in something. I mean, you can look at a painting and go, well, I really don't like how skinny I made that tree. But you're not just going to give up. You're going to keep working on that tree until it's the tree that you want it to be. But in the meantime, you're going to find positive. You may know that you got to work on the tree, but you may love the water. You may love how you painted the water. But you know that you got to go back and work on that tree. But you got to find positive in the picture. You can't get caught up in the negative. "3A, it's just data. Remove the emotion. Well, when you look at it's just data, I mean, really it is. It's just a picture there that you're painting or a song you're writing. And you can put a lot of emotion in it, and you can really make that picture of that song really stand out. You know, in a song, you might make it build, you know, to where it's, you know, you got a lot of drums going on, and it's just kind of hyped up. But you could also make it, you know, just a soft, slow song, just a love song. The same thing with a picture. You could paint just like some water with maybe a moon and a black night sky. Or you could go all abstract with it. But the point is, it's just data. It's just what's right there. It's not anything big or anything that should overwhelm you. You can't get emotional on it then. You need to get emotional at it when it's finished. The emotion can come once the work is finished, and you can glory in the accomplishment, which will be positive. You can sit there and get all excited about it before it's done. But what good does that do? I mean, you're not going to go show it to them. You're going to say, hey, I'm half finished with my painting. Check this out. They're going to be like, what? Or, hey, I'm half done with my song. Check this out. You got 2 chords. You know what I mean? Come on, help me out here. But if you sit there and you say, look, this is what God gave me. And you can glory in the accomplishment, and they can glory in the accomplishment, and I can assure you he'll be glorying in the accomplishment if it was from him. And the same thing with your life. Going back to that picture that I said that he's painting with your life. You're able to glory in that accomplishment of what he's done. You know, there's thoughts that are flooding your mind a lot. But like I said, it's just data. They used an example, you know, of course, the whole thing about the pink elephant or whatever, the different things that you say that make people think about one thing, and no matter how hard it was, we tried to think of something else, and I'm sure y'all have all done that exercise. But it was hard to do because everything kept flooding my mind. Just like Randy was talking about this morning about, you know, what do we got for dinner and all this stuff, because all those thoughts are coming, and they're flooding your mind, but they're just data. So what do you do with them? You take them captive and cast them down, right? Well, okay. If they're negative thoughts, they'll cause negative emotions. And negative emotions will cause more negative thoughts. But once you remove the emotion, then you can change it. Because if you're so worried about what's being flooded to your mind and overwhelming you at the moment, and you get focused on that, a lot of times your thoughts are going to be negative. The majority of them are probably. But if you'll sit there and you'll say, I've got no emotion in this is just data coming at me. I need to stop and find out how I can change this. And then when you change the emotion from negative to positive, then it'll be totally different. Because it's not the circumstance that you're in, it's what you do in it. Psalm 24, 1 through 6. Of David, a psalm. The earth is the Lord and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. For he founded it upon the seas and established it upon the waters. Who may ascend to the hill of the Lord? Who may stand in his holy place? He who has clean hands and a pure heart, who does not lift up his soul to an idol or swear by what is false. He will receive blessing from the Lord and vindication from God and his Savior. Such is the generation of those who seek him, who seek your face, O God of Jacob. Selah. Refer back to that picture for me. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. And you know, if the reflection is good that you're reflecting on, then there's no time for evil. You're concentrating on what's good in that moment, of what you did want to change. I'll give you some examples. One example would be hate. If you have an emotion of hate, well, of course, you want to change that to love. Cruelty would be changed to compassion. But the emotions can come once the work is finished and you can glory in the accomplishment. Point 4. It's a journey, not a destination. Matthew 6:33. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Seek him, not heaven. I'm going to give you a brief description here of what a painting is. This is from Wikipedia. It says, a painting is the practice of applying paint, pigment, color, or other medium to a surface, support base. The application of the medium is commonly applied to the base with a brush, but other objects may be used. In art, the term describes both the act and the result, which is called a painting. That's key right there. Paintings may have for their support such surfaces as walls, paper, canvas, wood, glass, lacquer, clay, or concrete, and may incorporate multiple other materials including sand, clay, paper, gold leaf, as well as objects. Painting is a mode of expression and the forms are numerous. Drawing, composition, or abstraction, and other aesthetics may serve to manifest the expressive and conceptual intention of the practitioner. Paintings can be naturalistic and representational, as in a still life or landscape painting. Photographic, abstract, be loaded with narrative, content, symbolism, emotion, or be political in nature. A portion of the history of painting in both Eastern and Western art is dominated by spiritual motifs and ideas. Examples of this kind of painting range from artwork depicting mythological figures on pottery to biblical scenes rendered on the interior walls and ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, to scenes from the life of Buddha or other scenes of Eastern religious origin. Now, I was telling you a while ago, point 4 was it's a journey, not a just destination. So I'm saying to seek him, not heaven. A lot of people get focused on, oh, we're in the sweet by and by, or let's sing about this song, and it's going to remind me of heaven, and that's all great. But as long as you seek him, you'll do what he wants you to do here. And he will bring the best way that he can heaven to earth for you. The other thing about a painting is it's very hard and time consuming. I have no idea what this lady was talking about. But she said, my first Ganji painting. I was like, okay. But the point is, she said, it was very hard and time consuming. I spent 3 days on it. And sometimes you can spend more than that. Sometimes you can look at it, go away, come back. Several times, you can get a song and not finish it for years. But you know what? Look how long it took God to paint his picture. He's still doing it in a lot of our lives. So I encourage you as you go this week to focus on that. When things come at you this week, when those thoughts flood you, whatever, just think about God's painting that picture in my life. And I really think that we'll look at it in a totally different light, y'all. because we'll understand how important we are in that moment to Him. And we'll know that He's working to do exactly what He's accomplished to do. That's all I have for you. God bless.